I talked about last week. We talked about ChatGPT, AI, and so on. And today, what we're going to do is to see the practical application on the mobile front, as it were, on something that is a real world that is taking place. In other words, let me put it this way. ChatGPT looked at static information, that is the text information that is available in libraries or wherever. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is information that AI has to deal with, which is dynamic. And I'm going to give you examples of what I mean by that. Like, for instance, a self-driving car. Now, where AI comes in there is the decision-making of the car has got to be dynamic, because the picture is changing all the time because it's moving, and therefore it needs to work out what its next action should be or what its response should be, as opposed to ChatGPT, which is picking up information and then sort of giving you an answer. So I'm going to be showing what I would say is our agenda for today. If I can get this thing to move a little bit. Perhaps not quite there. Okay. Okay, agenda for today is going to be starting off with a demo. In other words, I'm going to play a video which will enable you to see how it feels, or how it feels to be in a car which is going to be self-driving. We are at this stage now, not quite there 100%, but very close to 100%, where the car can drive you to the destination that you want. And that's what I would like you to start off by seeing. It's a sort of a 10-minute video clip, but you'll get the feel of it. And I think it's important to be able to get that. Now, one demo is going to be that. And there's going to be another demo that I want to sort of play for you, which is on reusable rockets. Now, reusable rockets is something that we haven't heard of before. No country or anybody in the past has developed these. There has been rockets which have just been launched, and they sort of do their work in terms of delivering a payload, and that's the end of it. They don't come back. Now, Elon Musk has developed the reusable rocket. And I'll tell you why it is so important, because that makes it possible for so many other things to be done as well. And one of those things that gets help is, of course, to put satellites in space or around the Earth. Now, why do we want to put satellites? Because they are able to pick up information, terrestrial information, and give you the feedback, as it were. When you want to communicate, for instance, to the other side of the world, you might have seen on TV, when somebody's interviewing, there's a delay. That's because the signal goes right up to the satellite and then comes beaming down. And that's when you hear it. In order to be able to use that type of system, you need to have lots of satellites. And in order to put lots of these satellites up, you need to have rockets that go up and deliver that. And because we're talking about thousands of satellites, it means that we need to have a reusable rocket. So reusable rocket has become essential for this type of an activity to be enhanced. Now we'll talk about Starlink as well a little bit as we go along. I'm going to be showing you actually my visit. I tried to get into a gigafactory in USA when I was there in Dallas about 2-3 months ago. I went down to Austin to see whether I could go and have a look at the factory, and they wouldn't let me in. They said, no, it's prohibited area. Can't even go even 100 yards near it. Nevertheless, I was able to drive past on the highway, and you won't believe how big that gigafactory is. So that's a little clip I want to show you as well. So Now, those are the big projects that I'm going to show you by way of little videos. And then, of course, we'll cover very quickly some of the other big projects that I said I'll update you on. And one of them, of course, is the big energy. Now, why is energy important? Because energy is important for all our, in fact, products that we make. And also it's important because it influences our weather, our climate. So what we have here in energy is something very fundamental because, global warming and all that is taking place. And we want to be able to have a type of energy which doesn't sort of make it worse. In other words, renewable energy, green energy, that type of thing we're talking about. So that I'll show a little bit of that as we go. And then, of course, a little bit just mention about Twitter having become X as a super app. We'll talk a little bit about that later. And then robotics as well. Now, these are the big projects that Elon Musk is engaged in. Now, I mean, as far as Elon Musk is concerned, I mean, he's, as you all probably know by now, he's quite an exceptional guy. To be able to deal with such big projects on his own, I mean, his teams are there, but he's the one who's the brain and the vision that is, taking that those projects forward. So quite exceptional. So in fact, I would say we are living at a time when I don't think there has been a person like him before that I can see even in history. And why do I say that? Because in history, we have lots of people with big visions, but they haven't been able to deliver. But he has been able to deliver on that, which is the big sort of, difference between the previous historical personalities and him. So we're lucky to have him here. And some call him an alien, but not quite. He says he's an alien to USA because, the immigrant term for that is aliens and so on. Okay, so what we're going to do is to start off by giving you a little demo of this. Now, let's see whether I can get it started here. Now, this is the self-driving demo. And you can see on the left, the driver is not handling the...
So here we are, got the latest full self-driving data, 11.46. We got 11.47 coming out next weekend, supposedly. I think we're close to a chat GPT moment. So what was the chat GPT moment? Well, OpenAI was working on GPT for a long time. Obviously, there was GPT-1 and GPT-2, GPT-3, and GPT-4. But nobody really noticed all that much, at least not on a consumer level. Maybe if you were a programmer or a nerd, you might know what GPT-3 was. Most people didn't. Even though they were working on it and improving it for a long time, you could access it via the API and do some pretty interesting things. But the awareness of it was pretty low.
So what we are seeing is the driver using his Tesla to go and initiate the FSD, which is full self-driving, to go into the normal traffic and see how the car fares in negotiating the traffic over there. He's given a destination. He just spoke as to where he wants to go, and the car decided which route it's going to follow, and it's following that route. And you can see what it feels to be like sitting in a car, sort of a car, which doesn't have a driver navigating the traffic. Of course, the driver is still in charge, but the car is doing the driving itself. And the driver can take over the driving with just a push of a button if he wants to. But as you can see in this demo, he's going to go all the way practically without having to intervene. So on with this demo again.
Then when they launched the ChatGPT interface, and they also updated the model to GPT 3.5 Turbo, people really started taking notice. All of a sudden they were like, holy shit, I can't believe that there's AI that's capable of this already. It seems to be able to reason, to understand in a way that I've never seen from a computer. And now people are using ChatGPT for all kinds of things. If you're a programmer, I think it's indispensable. No matter what you do, just try talking to ChatGPT, especially GPT-4. Pay the $20 a month and try GPT-4, and just start talking to it. Think out loud, tell it what you're doing, and I think you'll be pretty amazed by what the capability of today's deep learning systems is, especially the cutting edge ones. So I think we're really in a similar moment here where the autopilot team has been working on this for a long time, for years and years, and the industry's been working hard for years and years. And there's been a lot of progress, but people haven't really been taking notice because until it can really impact your life, until it's ready for you, why does it really matter? It's so far just sort of been limited to a select group of people rather than the broader public. So that was good. It had that 25 speed limit sign, but it said maintaining speed for traffic. Yes, this issue that has been annoying the hell out of me for 3 years is finally fixed. Thank you, autopilot team. That is fantastic.
Just to explain what we are seeing on the screen, what we have is, of course, a schematic where the car is sort of pursuing a particular path, which it decides from the software that it has built into the car, called the FSD software. Then you've got the real life image there in the front of the screen, which is picked up by all the cameras that are on the car. Here you have a speedometer as to how fast it's going, and this is the direction, and this is the route it's following, and this is the destination. So we are here right now, and of course you can see the wheel and the car here at the back, and he's the driver. He's not sort of actually handling the car in that sense. So let's get on.
Let's say, see, this is what I'm saying, really turning a corner here. The system's two cars coming, waited for that car to pass. And there we go. Already getting to the point where it can handle many drives without intervention. Just imagine what V12 is going to do. The other 2/3 of Tesla's customers around the world in Asia and Europe, they don't have this. So they really need to launch it at least on the highways.
So I've moved the clip forward. As you can see, we are now nearing our destination. So I'll just keep moving it further so that we get to the destination.
V12, utilize the power of Dojo, utilize the power of learning from the fleet, and get V12 out in the hands of a substantial portion of the 5 million Teslas out there. If you do that, so that's really their strength, is mass production. They're making so many of these things. That's what sets them apart. Okay, so I had to press the accelerator there because it was at the yellow light, it was turning red, and it just wasn't moving. So I wanted to make sure it went through the light. Okay, here we got a pedestrian on the side of the road. Notice how we're moving over or away as they get into their car. That's something that if the driver didn't see it, that could potentially avert a really bad collision. The AI is detecting something the driver's missing. So there you have it. There's FSD beta. It wasn't 100% perfect, but it's getting there.
Okay, so what we've seen is a full drive to a destination, a long drive along the traffic, and we're able to reach the destination with not much intervention by the driver. So it's quite a fantastic type of facility for those people who have a Tesla and wish to have the FSD. Now, the version that's currently in use is something like 11.4.7 or something. But I think the 12 is coming out soon. And Elon Musk has said the technology for the 12 version is quite different. And it's based on the type of ChatGPT type of technology, which is very predictive, even in terms of the pictorial type of picture that you have in front of you, and it's changing. So there is going to be a lot more efficiency brought into the whole process of having to train the software to make it that much better with all the data that it's receiving from the cars that are there on the road. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and I'm going to stop the chat for the moment, the record. Okay, this is a demo of the rocket launch for our Starlink satellites. Here you can see the rocket takeoff. It's a Falcon 9 rocket, and it carries about 60 satellites up there in the head and the top of the payload. These are the engines, and these are the fins that you can see on the left for the rocket to come back after it has delivered the load. So there you can see it coming back, and it's become a really usable rocket because this rocket that came back can very quickly be sort of refurbished in terms of refueling and be ready for another launch. So at the moment, I think we have, okay, I'm just going to stop the recording here. Okay. This is the inside the Gigafactory in Austin, the one that I tried to sort of get into, but I wasn't able to get in because they said it's not allowed. But you can see it's a huge sort of factory. I drove from the outside near Austin, and it's a mile long, the whole building. And what was in the building is what you see right now, and you get a little bit of an idea. Here we go.
Tesla produces one brand new Tesla every 30 seconds at their Giga Shanghai facility. Today, we're going to talk about how they are able to churn out new cars so quickly and why Tesla was able to go from production hell and near bankruptcy in 2017 to cementing their place as one of the top manufacturing companies in the world just 5 years later. So Tesla makes a few different cars, like the Model S, X, and 3, and they all go together a little differently. But for the sake of today's example, we're going to focus just on Tesla's most popular vehicle, the Model Y, and specifically the Model Y variation that they are building at the Gigafactory in Texas, because this is the most clear example of how Tesla makes a vehicle in a way that no other company on Earth can match. The first stage of this process is going to be fabricating the various panels and vehicle structure that make up the Model Y body. To do that, Tesla is going to use a process called stamping. This is pretty simple. You have two halves of a die mold that hold the shape of the part that you want to make. Then you place a sheet of metal in between those two halves. Typically, that's going to be aluminum. And then the machine stamps down on that sheet of metal to form it into the desired shape. There are going to be dozens of these stamping machines involved in fabricating a structural battery pack. This creates the central frame section of the vehicle in addition to holding all of the 4680 battery cells along with the integrated cooling and electrical architecture. Then
Now, one of the things about this whole process is that they have something called the Giga Press. Now, this Giga Press is something that is made in Italy, and it's a huge type of machine that enables half the car to be stamped at one go, which means that you put out the metal, so there aren't any individual little components that you screw together and so on. It's designed in such a way, the car, that the whole sort of body can be stamped with a huge press that enables it to sort of have the half the car produced in terms of its body shape and the metal that is used to make the body. So it is a very efficient way of cutting down costs and is going to be proving to be a very affordable type of price for a car like Tesla to be available for the common man to be able to buy. So let's move forward as we go along this process.
battery pack, they are going to directly bolt on fixed before the vehicle rolls out to be delivered to the customer. Now, that is how the process works at Giga Texas, and it's fairly similar at Giga Shanghai. So now you have some additional context for how incredible it is that all of that can be done so efficiently that they can produce a brand new Tesla every 30 seconds at the Shanghai factory, help increase production. Going back to what we had said about the original Tesla vehicle factory, it was built in the 1960s to build vehicles to assist efforts to increase output in Fremont, where Tesla produces the Model S, X. But things weren't always so easygoing for Tesla. Hardship, the company was able to learn a lot of valuable lessons that only come with great adversity. The biggest takeaway from that period was the importance of automation. Elon likes to talk about the machine that builds the machine, and that doesn't necessarily mean removing the people. Tesla still employs plenty of factory workers, but it's about increasing the amount of volume that a set number of people can produce. And that means letting robots shoulder the heaviest burdens around the factory. If you look at a video from a Tesla Gigafactory, everything is always in motion. The car is always moving from one stage of production to the next, being propelled forward by some kind of robot arm or conveyor belt or whatever. That's the only way you can spit out one of them every 30 seconds, or replaced by one singular machine and your vehicle in just one big part, like a Hot Wheels car. It's something that Elon has been wanting to try for a while now. So that's how Tesla has grown this massive manufacturing empire.
So there you are. You can see what happens in the factory here. Highly automated, and the production is stupendous. Something like one car 30 seconds, and no doubt it'll keep on increasing as well as they keep on improving the efficiency. Okay, so let me now stop this particular demo. Okay, this is a demo of the actual bot. You can see it in motion. Early days for this bot. Elon Musk says that because the world population is going down, especially in the Western world, the wealth that is going to be created in the future is through the extra labor that the bots will bring in. And of course, they don't need pensions, they don't need time off, they're not going to be ill, and so on and so forth. And therefore, their productivity is going to be quite high. Now, what that means is that we are heading towards the future with this robotics in place to create wealth, but free the human beings from the laborious and repetitive jobs and dangerous jobs, which means that the human beings can be deployed in a much more creative type of role. And yet the wealth can then be redistributed by the government in terms of what is called the UBI, Universal Basic Income. So we have a future now, which is quite exciting to be able to have these robots coming. Now, the one thing about the robots that Tesla is making is that they are incorporating the artificial intelligence that is built into the car, which is picking up lots and lots of information daily. There's something like over 100,000 cars that are feeding back into the main computer about their particular sort of journeys. And that data is very crucial to be able to try and optimize how the car can be made better to sort of do the self-driving. Now, that technology is going to be embedded in the robot as well. So here we've got huge amounts of data going in by the best teams in the world. And these robots are now going to be able to do something quite amazing in terms of supporting the productivity, in terms of the factories and so on, and homes for that matter. So here is a little bit of a peek into what sort of where we are on robots at the moment. Okay, this is a case where a demo of Neuralink, where Neuralink is the company that is taking a chip or developing a chip that can be implanted into the skull, which will then help the brain undertake activities where parts of the brain have been damaged. For example, if limbs are not working because of paralysis or because of strokes and so on, then those areas of the brain get bypassed by this chip and therefore can activate those limbs and they can be made functional. And of course, there are other illnesses of the brain that can also be dealt with. But you can get an idea as to how powerful sort of process this is in order to help human beings overcome the deficiencies and difficulties that arise because of shortcomings of the brain. So here is a little bit of a demo where he's talking about the things that can be done.
Concept will be tested in paralyzed patients so they can do daily tasks on a computer without needing their limbs. Neuralink is a small but mighty company with grand ambitions. The company was started in 2016 by Elon Musk and several others, and now has offices in Silicon Valley, California, and Austin, Texas. This major milestone of getting FDA approval is a huge step in bringing this amazing technology to those who need it most. Welcome to Neuropod, a channel covering all topics related to Elon Musk's brain-machine interface company, Neuralink. In this update episode, I'll share a clip of Neuralink's head neurosurgeon, Dr. Matt McDougall, discussing the safety of the implants. We'll look at a close-up view of Neuralink's electrode threads. And for those who don't know, these are the threads that are connected to the implanted chips and essentially get sewn into the brain with the Neuralink robot. I'll show a picture of Neuralink's mock operating room and some short videos of Neuralink's animals in action. Then, have you ever wondered if your head would get too hot while charging your Neuralink? I'll share a clip of what the heat map of a Link implant looks like when it's charging. And then we'll finish off the episode with a few cool things, one of which is a video clip of Dr. McDougall sharing his primary motivation for working with Neuralink.
The safety of the device, I would absolutely vouch for from the hundreds of surgeries that I've personally done with this. I think it's much safer than many of the industry standard FDA approved surgeries that I routinely do on patients that are no one even thinks twice about their standard of care. Neuralink is
that thicker in diameter, and that device is already able to treat neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease. Imagine how much better Neuralink will be able to do. The original post continues on to say, we use scanning electron microscopy at 1 Hertz. and an accelerated test at 10 Hz. These threads need to not only be able to, if you're interested in learning whether you may qualify for the Neuralink clinical. Here's a picture of Neuralink's mock operating group. Neuralink says, we practice surgeries on proxies with all the hardware and instruments needed in our mock OR in the engineering space.
Okay, so that's just to give you a little glimpse of what's happening in Neuralink. They're doing a lot of very serious work, and the approval has been obtained from the government to start the actual experimentation on humans now, because the animals have been shown that they don't suffer any ill effects with this implant. So human testing is going to be underway soon. Okay, this is an AI company of Elon Musk, which is going to be taking over the new role as of Twitter. Twitter had a lot of shortcomings. There were a lot of people there arbitrarily deciding which news should be suppressed and which not. And there were a lot of artificial bots or accounts that made for a distorted sort of version of how many people supported a particular, view and so on. So this XAI has a different objective. It's going to want to seek truth, basically, so that it's for the betterment of humanity. The idea is of having a public square where even opposition views will be expressed freely, so long as it is within the law. And the law means, of course, not inciting violence and so on and so forth. So he's giving room for all the views that can be expressed. And of course, there is going to be a community type of oversight over some of the information that is going to be put out by the users. And they will then be able to sort of filter out anything that seems to be going against the values of this particular AI company, which essentially means that they are seeking the truth and for the betterment of humanity as a whole. So here is what the clip is about.
XAI company that will reshape our existence. By the end of this video, you will learn everything about XAI, its goals, its challenges, and its potential impact on the future of humanity. What exactly is XAI? XAI is a cutting-edge company driven by a singular mission: democratizing access to artificial intelligence. Gone are the days when AI was limited to a select few, confined within the walls of academia or the exclusive domains of megacorporations. XAI aims to bring this unique technology into the hands of every individual, empowering people like never before. With XAI, envision a world where AI becomes your assistant, your most trusted companion in navigating the complexities of our fast-paced lives. From managing your daily schedules to organizing meetings and even handling mundane tasks, XAI's intelligent algorithms will seamlessly integrate into your world, anticipating your needs and simplifying your day-to-day existence. But that's not all. XAI's vision extends beyond personal assistance. With a strong emphasis on research, the company is dedicated to pushing the boundaries of AI even further. From healthcare advancements to climate change mitigation, XAI is determined to harness the untapped potential of artificial intelligence, working towards a future where innovation knows no bounds. Why Elon Musk started XAI? Widely regarded as one of the world's most influential entrepreneurs, Musk has spearheaded groundbreaking ventures such as Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink. But what compelled this visionary to start another audacious journey with XAI? Here are the reasons. Reason 1, passion for AI and its potential. Elon Musk's fascination with AI dates back to his early days as a technology entrepreneur. Recognizing its immense power, he became convinced that AI could revolutionize every aspect of our lives, from transportation to healthcare. This passion became the driving force behind the birth of XAI. Reason 2, addressing global challenges and existential risks. Musk realized the urgent need to address global challenges and existential risks that humanity faces in the 21st century. From climate change to sustainable energy solutions, from the potential threats posed by AI to the future of humanity on a multiplanetary scale, Elon Musk has made it his mission to mitigate these risks and find innovative solutions actively. Reason 3, creating synergies with other Musk ventures. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. Elon Musk is acutely aware of the ethical and safety implications surrounding the rapid advancement of AI. XAI serves as a platform to drive the conversation and actions necessary for ensuring responsible AI development. The company collaborates with leading experts, researchers, and policymakers to establish strong ethical guidelines, safeguards, and transparency in AI. Reason 4, driving the advancement of AI ethics and safety. Musk's visionary ambitions don't end there. AI catalyzes, creating synergies with Musk's other ventures, Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink. By leveraging these companies' collective expertise, resources, and technologies, XAI is poised to accelerate the development and deployment of groundbreaking AI solutions. By proactively addressing AI ethics and safety, XAI aims to set a precedent for the responsible use of AI, safeguarding against potential risks, and ensuring that this transformative technology remains beneficial to humanity.
As you can see, XAI is going to be the overall umbrella under which all the other companies will contribute. Tesla and SpaceX and Neuralink and all that. And of course, Twitter as well, which is going to be really called X at the moment. So this particular corporation that Elon Musk has in mind covers a lot of very, very important activities that need to be addressed by politicians and world leadership, but unfortunately they're not doing it. So what we find now is really a technology and somebody with a vision that Elon Musk has. He's come up with this rather extended type of vision that makes for the whole world to take notice, because he's talking about some things that is desperately needed. So let's go into a little bit more detail as we progress. Gigafactory. Now we talked about this self-driving cars, FSD they're called, and they're going to be produced. Now every car that gets produced by Tesla, especially from now on, will have this FSD capability. Now, that capability means the software is going to be in there already. And those who wish to activate or make use of it can subscribe to it as part of the cost that is going to be helping them. And they will be able to then have the option of having it turned on or off. Now, the thing about FSD is that, as I said, it is a type of software that is controlling the car. And the car makes decisions about what to do depending on what it sees. And there are lots of little cameras on the car. Now, what it sees, it has to work out what its action has got to be. And for it to decide that, there is a lot of information that gets passed over the internet, as it were, to a very big computer, and that computer picks up the information about whatever the car has seen in front as it's driving. And that enables it to sort of make decisions about what the car should be doing next. Now, this doesn't mean that it has to be on internet all the time. That training type of prediction is already in the car, and it does this. What the information that the big computer at the back end does is collecting more information and then being able to tweak it in such a manner that the action of the car are going to be better than what they have been before. In other words, these 100,000 cars that are feeding information to this computer makes it that much more sophisticated. And then that information is fed back to the car, and the car then takes a better decision. And how many cars are being built? Well, here is some figures. At the moment, this year, they expect to build about 2 million cars. And by the year 2030, their projection is to make 20 million cars a year. So they have started, ramping up quite a bit because they've got factories in places like this. Fremont was the first one in California, in Shanghai, in China, and they've got one in Austin and in Berlin. And these are the big factories that churn out these big cars, big numbers. Here's a picture of this Texas factory. And I went along this particular highway to be able to see whether I could sort of get an idea. And I might have a picture that I can show it to you later. Oh, here it is. This is my picture of the factory that I sort of drove by. Now, where are these cars being built in a global sense? These are the locations at the moment of where the factories are. That's Berlin there, there's Austin here, and in Shanghai over there as well. And the size of these factories is enormous. It's about a mile long, as it were. And all the automated stuff inside makes for this incredible amount of productivity. Okay, next thing is we saw that reusable rockets. Now, they are carrying at the moment these satellites. And these satellites go around the Earth in order to be able to sort of help us communicate with each other. Rather than having cables laid on the road, dug up and so on, and they give us access to internet at home through a modem and so on, these satellites will be able to do it through air. The signal will go up and down. And what we have at the moment for number of satellites is 12,000 in low orbit, and then another 40,000 sooner or later. Now, at the moment, to date, in July, the figure of 4,519 Starlink satellites are already there, which means they're giving you a global coverage. Now, you can get a sense of this global coverage because when the Ukraine war started, their, internet facility was, made inoperative. So Elon Musk said, okay, Ukraine, you can use our satellites to use internet. They were very happy because, they said, well, we've got an internet which Russia can't destroy. But then what they started to do was they started to use this capability of satellites to have these drones go and bomb. So Elon Musk says, no, we don't want to use it for warlike purposes. So it cut off the ability for the drones to be able to use the satellites. This is just a picture of this reusable rocket. Basically saying that thousands rather than a few huge ones. You see, we've got at the moment, I'll show you the thing a bit later on, I think, this one here. This is the architecture of the thing there. We've got the satellite here, your home here, and then you've got these stations here as well that beam up information, and then you can collect that information rather than cables, you get it over. So here, that's another picture of the satellite usage.
Just for countries like Africa where...
Yeah, I'll come to that. Yeah. Can we have questions right at the end?
Yeah.
Because I'll be covering some of this stuff. Now, what is meant by LEO, MEO, and GEO? Now, at the moment, when we see TV using somebody to interview at the other side of the world, there's a delay there. That delay is there because the satellite is very high up, 22,000 miles up. Now, what these satellites are low orbit. So LEO is low Earth orbit, MEO is middle, medium, and GEO is the geocentric, which is 22,000 miles away. That's why we have that delay. So the low Earth means that we're going to have instantaneous communication. And because of the coverage, it covers all parts of the Earth at the moment. But since the full complement of satellites are not there, certain areas are not completely sort of, having that service. Now, your question that came up was what is going to be cost. The cost of mile of Tesla car is about 4.5 cents per mile, electric vehicle. Whereas, a cost per mile of a petrol car is about 16 to 19 cents per mile. So you can see we have a tremendous amount of saving. So anybody who wants to sort of have low operational costs and low sort of petrol costs, then you go for EVs. So EVs have already captured the market. It's just that they're not being built fast enough for people to buy. And they have a range, once you charge up the battery, it can go up for about 300 to 400 miles. Now, energy is so important to our everyday life. We are going to be able to sort of rely on what Elon Musk says is the biggest reactor in the world, and that's the sun. And the sun is available there all the time. And what we have to do is to capture that energy and be able to store it. And because he's got that ability to be able to store it in batteries, which he has developed, very, very sort of efficiently, this energy is going to be a green energy, essentially. So there won't be any carbon sort of emissions, and therefore not going to be contributing to the warming of the climate. So this home, as it were, is one where you've got the car being charged. You can see this little thing here that charges. The roof is going to be solar cells, solar panels. And then, of course, you capture that energy in the solar cells, use it for the home, for heating, whatever. And then if there is surplus, you give it back to the grid. So you can see it's going to be a very, very sort of economical way of using energy, and it's safe. Now, some places are already utilizing this idea of battery. In Australia, this I think picture of an Australian one where they're having a whole sort of little town being supplied by battery power, and of course they capture the energy from solar panels that store it, and it's become a very, very sort of effective and economical thing. Here's these they're called mega packs. The largest is 350 megawatts, because these places that are being utilizing it in Australia, and also in Texas there. And there are other sort of locations as well. It's just that they're not able to make batteries fast enough. And that's the bottleneck. Now, Starlink, here's the global sort of coverage here. And you can see it covers the whole Earth. It's just that what you need to be able to capture the signal is a dish. And a dish is the one that enables you to capture the signals, and then that dish connects to your computer and you're connected to the world, which means that even the remote part of Africa will be able to have access to internet and global information. So half the people on this earth don't have internet access. So once this thing, because he's putting up satellite, about 60 of them every 2 weeks. But the new rocket that he's developing, instead of the 60 satellites that it can carry at each launch, is going to carry 400. So the numbers are going to increase dramatically. Now, there are other countries as well starting to think, well, China is one of them. They are starting to think, yeah, we need to also put our own satellites up, but they are just starting now. So here, SpaceX has a big lead already. So here we are. This is, again, simply saying it's going to be low on CO2, this type of launch. Okay, I want to skip this is something that I don't want to talk about right now because it hasn't got going as yet. Okay. This is basically saying that half the world doesn't have access to internet. So with these satellites, we're going to be able to provide them with that access. And it's going to be a big service to humanity. Now, the other thing that, another project that he's engaged in is this Neuralink. Now, Neuralink is a chip, and the chip is very, very tiny, the size of 1 cent, one small penny, and it gets embedded in the brain. And that has a lot of strands that connect to various parts of the brain. The idea is that if people are affected because of certain damage to their brain, then this chip enables you to bypass that damaged part and be able to sort of provide the logic necessary to be able to activate a limb which may have not being able to function. So that capability is being tested out, and they are making lots of progress on that. So in a way, humanity again is going to make, have a big sort of facility in the future. So here are the things. This is a company that he set up called Neuralink. Discuss implants, close-up, okay, practice surgery, monkeys, yeah. Okay, this is just basically saying that. Now, that's Neuralink. In fact, I've talked about all these in my previous talks. So if you want more detail, you can go to my channel. My channel is spelled like my name with a space S, all low characters. And you'll find all my talks in there. It gives you a lot more detail. Now, you've heard, of course, of Twitter. Now, Twitter, again, is something that Elon Musk bought outright. He paid $44 billion of his own personal sort of wealth to acquire that. Although I think he says he overpaid for it, but nevertheless. Now, what Twitter is a type of social media which is being used by practically everybody now, especially those people who have something to say to other people. And that means a lot of politicians, a lot of people who want to communicate, and corporate world and so on. That ability to be able to communicate has got to be reliable, the media. But Twitter was, in fact, not reliable, because what had happened is there were a lot of fake accounts that were put up, and there was a lot of government interference as well with it, which enabled them to suppress information. So when Elon Musk bought this, he had the idea that what he wants to do is to free this Twitter from all these influences and make it a much more reliable type of media. Because as you know, at the moment, these fake news and all that, there's tremendous amount of confusion in the world as to what to believe and what not to believe. Therefore, his idea is to try and deal with that issue as well by bringing in the controls that are necessary in Twitter. And now he's called Twitter by another name called X. Now, X is his way of communicating to the world that here you can rely on something which is a bit better than what it used to be as Twitter. And you'll be able to sort of have a lot more confidence that you're not going to be thrown off it simply because you have different view. He says this X is going to be like a public square where anybody can have their say, so long as they're within the bounds of law. They can't go and sort of incite racism and this, that, or the other, or violence. But if you have a point of view, you can express it, even if that point of view is contrary to what you believe in. So he wants to have a public square type of environment on this X. And he has already started that, and you can see at the moment, he's putting in type of checks that enable a certain amount of filtering out of unsavory type of information. When I say unsavory, it means illegal or whatever it may be. So, and that control is through a community who can then express their views on it, and therefore that view is then taken up. It's like a filter. It's not like somebody sitting in the back office and saying, we want to delete this, that, the other. It's going to be a general consensus as to what is regarded as not fake, but as truth. Anyway, he started this new thing. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, OpenAI, I said last time, was started by Elon Musk. And it produced ChatGPT, although Elon Musk left the company because of disagreement, whatever. Now he is now able to sort of see that Microsoft and Google are big players in this open AI type of products, like ChatGPT, for instance. So he's going to come out with this X having what is called Truth GPT. So you will have access to this data which ChatGPT has, as well as all the other mobile, dynamic data that he's picking up from every car that is being sold, and all the video information as well. So he's got a very huge type of domain to be able to extract information from. And in order to do that, he's got a computer which is one of the largest in the world, called Dojo. I think it is based on technology that they themselves developed. It's not anything new by way of chips like NVIDIA has done or so on. It's their own type of design, and therefore they're able to control it a lot better and move a lot faster. So in order to get that Truth GPT up and running, he's formed the company by recruiting people from here. I think it says from DeepMind, OpenAI as well, from Microsoft, from all over, which have been significant players in AI. Therefore, he's getting the best of people to come in and work with him on something called Truth GPT, which is going to go a lot beyond the ChatGPT at the moment. Yeah, so he says, purpose of repurposing Twitter, Elon Musk talks about the goal as a truth-seeking AI. And he says, basically, he wants to be able to sort of aim for the betterment of humanity. Now, that's something to think about, because quite a lot of businesses are built on making big bucks. You can see in the case of Bezos. Now, why is Bezos so rich? Because he appeals to the greed of people to buy, maybe a bit easier, perhaps, but he makes lots of money out of it. Doesn't do a world of good, because all these emissions, because of our increased consumption, causes a heck of a lot of problems, big problems. And then you've got this Branson character. Also, he wants to make big bucks by sending people up on space on tourism. Now, these people have such a limited viewpoint that their only goal is to make more money. And that's where the difference comes with Elon Musk and all these other big oligarchs and billionaires. They are out to make money. He's out to deliver on a vision which is going to be good for humanity. Yeah, this is okay. Okay, I'll finish off here so that we can have a bit of a chat about questions, because I'm sure you have lots of questions. I'm going to stop the share and make it view gallery. So here we are. That's not a lot of people, but just a few of us over here. And you can unmute yourself if you've got a question. This is going to be recorded anyway, so any of those people who haven't been able to make it, they can see it. So, questions? Okay.
Yeah, one in here, please.
Sorry, there's a question here. I'm just going to take a question here in the room. I'll come back to you, Mohammed.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can speak. All that is the intelligence that is built into it, called FSD. That's why it's taken so long to be able to sort of take the right decision. And that decision making is not available with AI in general. They're developing it themselves. And that's why they're progressively making improvement. And what they have done just lately, that little car that you saw driving on its own, it can recognize, it can read the sign, it can roadblocks, railway crossing, whatever it may be, or a pedestrian crossing. even a dog crossing the road, it knows and it takes the right action. Okay, Mohammed, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, probably the same question, but different. You said they already built, I don't know, thousands of these self-drive cars. Is there any of them on the road already, or they still working on it to make it proper?
Well, at the moment, there are 100,000 cars with this FSD software built into it. In fact, all cars have it, but to activate it, you need to agree to a certain competence in driving, and then you're able to do that. So that those 100,000 cars are already feeding that information back. So they are on the road already, but not full time, not as a taxi as yet. And as a taxi, I think sooner or later it's going to happen next year, maybe. And you will have a car reach you at the call, at your beck and call, and pick you up and deliver you to your destination. That's probably by next year or the year after. But at the moment, people are using it for driving themselves. But most of the time, the car drives itself, and then they take charge. Just by pressing a button, they can take control, and then sort of give it the control back again to the car. So it does, in this last case that we saw, I think 90% of it was all driven by the car. And I think the guy sitting there was not, it wasn't necessary for him to do anything.
Thank you.
Okay, Stanley.
Yeah, you're coming on the ground today, electric cars, Twitter. I was very interested in you talking, touched on the chip, implanting the chips into people's
brains.
skull. I don't know if it's the brain, but into the skull, so that it connected to a computer. Because as I understand it, I seem to remember we only use 5%, 10% of our brain capacity. It's very underused, the human brain. I do remember watching on television 40 years ago. They did this in America with a black chap. I think he had learning difficulties, and they actually were experimenting with that. I'm not sure they're actually doing it at the moment. I think it would be too invasive, certainly with humans, or maybe monkeys or rats. But I do remember he was saying, what do you feel? And he went, oh, I feel this sensation is quite nice. You know, they're really experimenting what they could do with this.
Yeah, the question was the research has been going on this type of implant of the chips in the brain. This particular Neuralink effort is making headway with animals already. Like we saw, I think some pigs being implanted, and their behavior was monitored to see how well they received the implant, and they studied their sort of movements as well. And with the chimpanzee, they were able to make that chip so that it could sort of work it to play a game, the ping pong game that was visual. So there is progress that is being made, but that chip doesn't have to be connected to the computer, Anthony. It's on its own. And what it does is a little bit like what my pacemaker does. It's got a battery in it, so it does its work. So it'll do its work, and it'll bypass those areas which are damaged and be able to replicate that activity, so your limbs and your affected parts of the body can respond.
Which is supplementary. Would that be possible with people, for example, who've had a stroke and they've lost the ability to raise their arm, etc.? Would the chip be able to compensate?
Absolutely. That's one of the things they mentioned. Absolutely.
So that's the break.
Yeah. Not stroke, but also paralysis. You know, people, all those types of illnesses that have made your limbs, unusable. Yeah.
In Twitter, there's a far more hatred and misinformation. He hasn't been able to stop. So, when he said the new proposal for GTP chat is going to be wider and more wholesome opinion? How is he going to do that?
Well,
Control,
well, you probably already know the answer, because a lot of this hatred and all that comes from lack of information and education. A lot of people make decisions emotionally rather than rationally. If they have a rational basis for anything, they would not think otherwise. So what we have to be able to understand is this Starlink, when it gives access to half the world, which doesn't have access at the moment, their education is going to be, help enormously. So they'll be able to understand other human beings better. So what we have at the basis of all hatred and violence is basically lack of information and greed. Greed. Well, this is one of the things about this. If you've got people who are educated and sensible, you might have the odd people who sort of, wants to streak ahead by sort of, stabbing everybody in the back. But then, sooner or later, he's going to meet his end. So if you look at most societies, a lot of societies where there is a lot of good education and all that, there is a lot more liberalism there, a lot of understanding and tolerance. But where it's a closed society, then you find that there is a lot of abuse taking place. Therefore, education is the basis, I think, to eliminate that. Well, access. Well, access is the first facility. If you have access to internet, you can learn from that internet. But if internet is cut off and you are given papers to read and media that prints, even our media that prints, a lot of fake news for that matter, or the politicians that give out fake news, of course, you need to be able to go along to the different types of media that are available and select for yourself. And for that, the basis is that you've got to have the education as well. So there is that possibility.
What is my son's ability with autism, dyslexia, and bipolar? You then have control. Some of the things in the brain may be different, too good. They're good as well as bad. Autism, dyslexia, all these things. How do you decide? It's not going to say what is in the brain.
Yeah. Well, this is still early days, but still early days to be able to sort of find the solutions for all that. But we now have a tool to be able to address that. We didn't have that before. All we had was a couch to be able to psychoanalyze and so on and so forth. This tool is physically going to be invasive type of activity, which will then make a difference. So it's still early days, but we're headed that way. Well, I mean, a tool is as good as how well you use it. You can take a knife and stick it in somebody or chop up onions. So the tool is a tool, right? This is going to be a good tool. Okay, I think we're nearly there practically. And I think I see some people who they want to come in. Is there a class here?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
It's supposed to finish that. Now, what? Dancing.
Notice on the program.
It wasn't in our program anyway.
Not your program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Chef.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. Bye.
Sorry, Shafiq, are you still there?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, sorry, Shafiq,
Mohammed?
could you just tell me how to get to your website again?
Sorry?
How can I get to your website?
Get my what?
Your website.
Oh, website. Just my name, Shafiq, SHAFEEQ, space S.
Shafiq space S.
Yeah, all lower characters.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.